Hey Taurus, thanks for dropping in with me. We are going to be diving into your collective energy and just seeing how you're going to be affected during this significant Pluto retrograde cycle that kicked off on May 2nd in the sign of Aquarius and will continue its long, slow backslide motion until it eventually ends up retrograde in Capricorn, going direct in that sign on October 11th. And this is a really important cycle. If you want to know the weight it carries, just think back to what was going on last year when we had the same action going on. They sort of hit a crescendo point back in the fall, right? So we're kind of going for a repeat of that action. And we are really tying up a major loop here, a major karmic loop. So we're just going to see what that's all about for you, how you can move through this in the most empowering way, what you'll be focused on, and just getting some insight for you all, okay? This is, woo, there's a monarch butterfly just outside the window. So that's a beautiful message of transformation coming in for you. It's also a message of ancestors. Beautiful, especially in a native tradition. Okay, so if you're a native ancestry there, that might be coming in very strongly for you. You might be learning more about your native ancestry. Beautiful message coming in there. So a lot happening already. We haven't even dived in here. This is for any significant Taurus placement, or if you happen to have a prominent placement in that second house. Also, if you're a Scorpio rising, that makes you a Taurus descendant, and you'll likely find resonance with these messages. So let's see what's coming in. Spirit, what does Taurus need to know about this Pluto retrograde cycle? What is it bringing into their life? And how can they move through this cycle in the most empowering way? Spirit, what does Taurus need to know about this Pluto retrograde cycle and how it will influence them? Taurus, you have this action starting out first in your 10th house, okay? So it means whatever you're dealing with here, whatever you're cleaning up here, whatever you're integrating here on the internal level is quite evident on, you know, a large scale. The 10th house is like your public reputation, how you're viewed, how you're seen. It can be your brand. And it's just that face that you're showing the world in a very public way, which is an interesting place to have it starting out. Because there might be something you're rebelling against. You might be rebelling against the structures, the limits, the boxes others have put around you, who you have to be. You might be really pushing up against those borders, but I feel like this is a situation that you're really mastering internally right now, okay? I also see that there is a real need to let go and allow yourself to dive into that inner reflection and just allow things to kind of shake out. I do feel like you're moving into this energy where your fire is coming forward. You might have a really strong fire sign placement in your chart. This is also Leo energy, which again just amplifies that 10th house activity. So it's all about the face of something. And this for you can even be your brand. Maybe you're doing something very different in the business arena. You want to try something very innovative, out of pocket. You might really be shaking things up. It might surprise people the direction that you're heading in this regard. You might be wanting to do something that puts your face out there where you're really representing your brand in a big way. Maybe you want to get into doing something online. Maybe you want to get into something that requires you to, you know, be on video like I'm doing here. I do feel like you're stepping up into a position that requires the spotlight to be more on you. And this can also invite in public scrutiny, okay? So I do feel like there's something you're working with here, polishing your image. You're wanting to put your best face forward, but I feel like there's a lot you're integrating around this on the I want to say eternal level. Maybe you feel like something's been kind of like a little bit of an eternal struggle, you know, between who other people expect you to be and who you want to be, how you want to show up in the world. I feel like you're finally addressing this, okay? You could be dealing with a Leo in relation to this situation. You could also be dealing with an Aries. You could be dealing with a Sagittarius with that Queen of Wands energy coming in there. And let's see what we got behind this. Yes, we got the Three of Wands, okay? So I know that there's something you're waiting to come in here, and I feel like it's your ships coming in. You're wanting to see the future that you've dreamt of really manifesting and coming into view, but you feel like it's just sort of held back. There might be one element here in the mix that needs to be addressed before you can really find you know, a smooth passage into that future that you desire. So let's see what this is about. What's coming in here for Taurus? Eventually, you will have the energy move out of Aquarius and out of your 10th house. And when it goes retrograde into Capricorn, it will be in your 9th house, which is the house of Sagittarius. It's the house of philosophy, having a more broad perspective. It's the house of expansion. It's also the house of moving into more areas that have you extending your reach. So certainly that can be extending your reach as far as your work, what you're putting out there, how you want to be known. I also feel like your reach is going to be extended. So you definitely want to make sure that you're putting yourself out there in a way where you're really representing your authentic self, all right? Because a lot is going to be sort of showcased. I got this kind of energy. A lot is going to be more evident for people to see. We do have the High Priestess here, so I feel like you're in an integration place right now. And in fact, you're probably about to do the deep dive down into that South Node energy. You're about to do that deep dive to dance with Hades a bit, integrate some of the more shadowy material so you can really refine, you know, where you're at internally. I do feel like there's something you've been struggling with, and it could have affected you negatively on a 10th house level, maybe in terms of how others saw you. Maybe it put you at odds with other people as your ideas for what you wanted to create for your future clashed with theirs. There could have been something going on that was confidential at one point and it became public. This affected your image, your reputation, the way you were seen, the way you were viewed. There might have even been a fair amount of drama around that. Maybe you feel like that drama extended way too long. I do feel like where there were fights or disagreements or dissension in regard to anything secret being revealed, I feel like you're finally at the point where you just feel like it's better to let something go. And I think this is wise. I think this is a time not to address matters on the external level, but really understanding the role that you played in that. And so I do feel like you're doing the deep dive to sort of like integrate this. You're diving into the mysteries, you're shedding the illusions, you're understanding the role that you played in certain power dynamics, push-pull dynamics, how you contributed to what happened back there, right? And I do feel like there's a lot you're going to gain during this time. There's also this piece coming through that you knew it. You know what I mean? You knew something was going to be problematic. You knew it could have an effect on you, and you ignored your intuition in this regard. So I also feel like this is a time when your intuition will be heightened and will really be speaking to you. It's almost like so essential for you to move into this expansion that you desire in such a way where you do so really respecting what your intuition tells you, because this is one of those things that you got to feel your way through. You can't force your way through. You got to feel your way through, okay? And I do see there's something you're leaving behind here. It's something that you invested a lot of time, a lot of energy in. You poured a lot of emotions into this. For some of you, it was a particular battle, a particular conflict, a particular issue you were having with family, friends, loved ones, and it was somehow going down for all to see. And there was something about this that you feel ended up eventually misrepresenting who you are. And I feel like you're really wanting to define who you are on your own terms right now. and you do have a vision for where you want to head in the future. It might mean you have to break from the pack. It might mean you have to break from certain ideals, certain crowds, certain people who've had too much influence or sway over what you do with your life and the choices you make. But I feel like you feel fine moving off on your own here. I think it's an empowering move for you. And I do feel like you're really listening to your internal guidance. You feel spiritually led in this direction. And speaking of that ninth house where you'll eventually land, I do feel like this process of moving into this Pluto retrograde energy will deepen this journey for you. And it will deepen it specifically on a spiritual level. You may be taking up a new form of spiritual study. You may be going on some kind of spiritual retreat. You may start to explore spirituality if that's something you weren't really connected to before, or you might be coming into contact with a teacher who's really lighting up your spiritual path. We also have Pisces, Cancer energy here that might be factoring in. This is also Pisces energy here with the Eight of Cups. So what's behind this? Yeah, this has something to do with inner work. I feel like you're really going to be steeped into this inner work energy here. There's something you're really bringing to a balance, okay? And I feel like this is really leveling up a karmic cycle with that South Node Libra. There could be a Libra involved in this situation as well. But this does show that there is a balance happening here. Now, it's really interesting if you notice this. Notice how there's almost a mirroring of energy between the High Priestess and Justice here. The only difference is where you have the High Priestess, there's shadow on one side, light on the other, and there's the pomegranates here, which pomegranates are what Persephone feasted on, as did Lilith, to do that journey into the underworld to drink in the knowledge. So here there's still this sort of like polarized view. But do you notice here there's more balance in terms of the shadow and light? And there's the light on both sides, and then the shadow is in the center here with Justice. And it makes me think justice is blind. Justice is blind. In other words, we don't measure out justice according to what we see with our eyes, but it's something that we arrive at internally, what feels right, what feels balanced, what feels true. And I think finding this balance in the situation you've been dealing with hasn't necessarily been easy. I see there's been a lot of stress here. There's been a lot you've been processing, possibly at dream time, okay? At night, when you're trying to get restful sleep, you might have had some disturbed sleep. And I think this is because there's something that's still hanging out in the subconscious that needs to be integrated around these issues you've been having. I feel like these are connections that you've had to move away from. And there's been a little bit, I don't know, maybe there's even been a little bit of that mirroring of that story of Lilith for her to come in. Lilith was exiled. Lilith was exiled because she was very headstrong and she knew what she wanted and she broke societal norms. And Lilith always wanted to be on top. And that kind of like bruised some egos, you know. She had her own way of doing things. And so there might be part of your story that's kind of mirroring that, you know. Maybe you're playing the role of, you know, the bad girl, the bad boy. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're rebelling a little bit. Maybe you kept this part of you more concealed and you're starting to let it be seen. And along the way, you know, you're sort of like feeling it out, you know. You're noticing as you allow more of what you used to hide to be put out on Front Street, the way you're getting some backlash. You're sort of like reading the room too. I feel that. You very well could be dealing with a Pisces, a Cancer, a Scorpio. You could have one of these signs strongly aspected in your chart. I do feel like There are certain emotional motivations, realities, maybe even subconscious distortions or saboteurs. We have to look at that with the Pluto energy that you're not aware of yet, because we do have that lid on the cups there, okay? And this process, this deep dive, is getting you to a place where those subconscious emotions can come up and out. I love the imagery there. Look at that. At one point contained, and now it's spilling over. And there's a certain spiritual cleansing that comes in through this, and also an alignment that will finally get you to a place where you let go of the reins and you really allow your spirit to lead you forward. You allow spirit itself to lead you forward. I do feel like, Taurus, you're going through this period of spiritual initiation. I really do feel that that is what this particular journey with the retrograde cycle is about for you. It's really taking it to a deep dive place where you're going through a spiritual initiation of sorts, which can be kind of intense, especially when you look at your descendant sign, Scorpio, okay? Just like manifest the energy on much more palpable of a level. This can be, you know, tricky terrain because we realize certain glamours that we cast on ourselves, but I feel like there's a real opportunity for growth here and moving forward on your spiritual path in a new way. I don't feel like spiritual paths that you were down in the past necessarily speak to you on the same level they used to. You know, there wasn't the integration you were hoping for on former spiritual paths. I feel like something is really shifting here with your spirituality specifically, and the way you view the world, the way you connect to that. And everybody is spiritual. You know, you don't have to adhere to a particular religious dogma in order to be a spiritual person. This is the way your soul is really connecting to your life experience. And I feel like that's something you're needing more of, and you're hungering for it. There's also this piece about you're diving into the mysteries. A lot of you are really deeply involved in an alchemical process. You are searching for that philosopher's stone. You're trying to transmute the leaden stuff of the soul that weighs you down into that stuff of gold, you know? You're wanting that elevation and that refinement. You're also wanting to externalize it. And this very well could have something to do with your work in the future and how you make your coin. Some of you are starting to explore metaphysical career paths, or you may be looking to get involved in teaching, teaching the arts. You know, this may be something that you want to do. There might be something that you're opening up to here. I do feel it's a really deep journey though, and it's something very different from what you've been involved in before. I do feel like there will be an opportunity to make an investment in a new direction by the time you get to the other side of this. But, you know, it's up to you if you choose to go in this direction. It will change the way you're perceived with that 10th house activity. People will view you differently. But there's something here about you really have to stay true to what's guiding you forward on an intuitive level, and not just accept things that maybe you would have in the past but didn't really fulfill you, okay? In favor of keeping the peace and keeping everything copacetic, okay? So this is really about standing up for yourself and what's right for you. 1919 on the clock. I know that something is coming to an end here, some old cycle, some old karmic cycle is coming to an end here, and you're fully going to rise up out of it representing yourself. And it's something that has a profound effect on you spiritually. It changes your view of the world. It changes the way you relate to your life experiences. It's a spiritual initiation. I mean, let's find out about this Ace of Pentacles. What does it bring in? I feel like if you really allow yourself to give over to this process, there's some kind of communication that will come in. I feel like it comes in as a download, okay? It comes in as a download. It comes in through a dream. It comes in through your intuition, likely when there is Jupiter in Gemini trine Pluto, and that will be going down on June 2nd. This is a time when you'll be able to really spot something that you couldn't see before, but I feel like you're arriving at it through your inner vision. And something about this, because this is heading south here, okay? It was in the crossroad position, so I do feel like you've had your defenses up, right? But something about getting in touch with your inner realm starts to take those defenses down. Interesting. I like this imagery here. Okay. Aquarian energy. So this is what it's about. Before you can strive for that north node, right? You have to first dive for it down into the south node. And this is what will, you know, allow you to elevate that energy and recover a lost hope. Maybe you felt like you really tried to fight for something that you felt like was destined for you, meant for you. It was your star. It's something you invested a lot of energy in. And maybe you just got kind of worse for the wear. You ended up coming up against a lot of resistance. Again, a lot of people didn't agree with this. Some may have felt you used a little too much force in this situation, that you were a little too hard-headed, stubborn. Some may say you aggressively went after a particular goal, and they may even say that you tried to win this at all costs, okay? And I say that because we have the Six of Wands here, which is all about victory, but it came in with the Five of Swords to the Ace of Wands. And I say you because when we're looking at Pluto retrograde cycle, we're looking at what's going on within us and the role we played. So something got revealed here. Maybe how bad you wanted something. Maybe how badly you wanted a particular outcome. Something you really thought, no, this is mine. And there might have even been a little competitiveness around this. You did have, you know, the Three of Cups energy come in with that Four of Cups there. And you had the Three of Pentacles coming in there as well. Okay, so this could indicate that maybe this was a situation where there was more than one person involved in this scenario. There could have been a family member involved in this scenario that wanted something one way. You were on different pages with that. This caused conflict. This could be in matters of the heart where there were too many options in the mix. This was problematic, but you wanted what you wanted. You know what I'm saying? There's something here that you really wanted, and you had to really stand up for what you wanted. I feel like you fought hard for what you wanted, and some may say you didn't fight fair. Okay? And there's something here about you're getting a reflection of this. You're going to have this highlighted for you. I feel like right around June 2nd with that first trine that comes in there. Gemini is the house of communication. And Gemini is also that twin energy. So I do feel like there is somebody on the other side of this that you really felt at one point that you were like mirrors for each other. You may have felt like you were just inseparable, or that you really were meant to be with this person, or this opportunity was really meant for you. And at the same time, I feel there was something about it that really had you kind of pulled in two different directions. You felt divided, and it might have caused some complication here, right? It might have caused a lot of polarization too, and that could have been the source of conflict. I do feel like you're diving into that South Node energy, though, with this in reverse, where you're cleansing away what used to be a hope for you. And I say you're cleansing it away because right here we have the Six of Swords. This shows that you're moving away from troubles. You've probably already moved away from this energy. But the thing that we really need to look at here is you're moving away from this energy, but you're bringing the pain forward with you. And so that's what you really need to cleanse. You might have really kept a lid on your emotions around this. You may have had to come off very strong. I feel like if you entered, you know, into this kind of competitive arena and it was going down, you know, for everyone to see, which we're going to be looking at that energy with, 10th house activated here. You may have really felt like you had to be brazen, and you really had to own it. And because of that, you had to sort of like keep your more vulnerable emotions like sort of more suppressed. And I do feel like there's pain around this, and something was lost in this situation. And there could have even been somebody in this scenario that felt really betrayed. It could be you, it could be somebody you dealt with. But I do feel like there was fallout here, and there is a sense of betrayal or somebody not playing fair in this situation because they used too much force. Somebody wanted what they wanted, and they didn't consider how others were affected in this situation. You may have even taken some heat in regard to this. People may have come at you. You may be tired of defending yourself in this regard. All right, I can see that. But you're in a process of cleansing away this energy, and this is associated with Aquarius here, okay? And on the other side of that, we have the King of Wands, okay? So perhaps this is what was cleansed away. This is what you're integrating. Fire sign energy, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, okay? There's definitely fire here. Someone stirred up your fire. Maybe at times they stirred up your passions or your enthusiasm, depending on the nature of the relationship. But at other times, this person could just as easily stir up your ire. I see that, all right? But I do feel like there is some approach happening here, right? And it may be some kind of desire to have healing communication coming in here. We do have water sign energy here too. Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio. This may be coming in very strongly for those of you with Scorpio rising, that is Taurus Descendant. There's something here that is being brought to a close, right? And on the other side of this is a new way forward. It's a new vision for your future, and it will bring you success. But until you can arrive at this point, something needs to be cleared away here. This is going to affect you very personally because it affects the fixed signs intensely, especially this Pluto retrograde cycle. It is really affecting the fixed signs. And so we have, your descendant sign, Scorpio here. We also have your sign, Taurus. But you could also be dealing with a Leo. You could be dealing with an Aquarius. There also is something I feel really pivotal around this that will go down in Leo season. And I say that because you did get that Ace of Wands. And Ace of Wands is about taking a really strong action, like something compels you to take an action. And this action could tie back to something that went down back in the fall of last year, 2023. Now, we have another trine coming up on July 21st, just as we start to head into that Leo season, and that's Mars trine Pluto, okay? Mars is Scorpio's ruling planet, one of their ruling planets, along with Pluto, okay? So that's going to be a time when you can really use all that you've been learning, everything that got highlighted with that Gemini, Jupiter, trine Pluto that came in on the 2nd of June. And you can finally put what you learned into action there. You can finally take a strong action. And it might be to issue some kind of healing communication that you feel like needs to happen in order to truly let go and feel like you balance things out here. It could involve any of these signs. But I see whatever action you take at this point, it ties up a karmic cycle from last fall. It brings things full circle. There will be a victory in this, and it'll be achieved the right way because there's something that will be illuminated here that takes into consideration the whole picture. It gives you a new view for your future. It also moves stagnancy out of the way, and I feel like it's a road opener and a bit of a blockbuster for you too. It also has, you moving more into the heart here, okay, with the King of Cups and expressing, something that couldn't be expressed before because it was put on pause. And this is very important for you. We see that with the Hierophant coming in here. And do you notice there's two keys here? There's two figures here. And I do feel like this is spirit saying yes, where you do feel compelled to issue a communication in the spirit of making peace and setting the record straight emotionally and bringing in a softer, less combative side. There is nothing that should deter you from doing that. As long as you feel that you have really integrated and come to a place where it's about peace and healing and forgiveness, this will work out in your favor, all right? I do feel like there is something you need to express here, because if you don't, it's going to weigh super heavily on your heart. And this will really reflect your growth. There's something you're refining here. And I also feel like it will change the way you're viewed as well, okay? People are going to recognize how much you've grown. People are going to recognize how much you've been really looking at this and trying a different approach here. I also feel like this is going to open up a much more prosperous, blessed up time in your life. I think you're going to feel more in alignment, mind, body, spirit, you know, and you're also going to feel like you're really ready to invest more in yourself and what feels right to you. But there's something about the way you're moving forward now where it's not about like really asserting your position or only thinking about what you want. You have a different perspective now that has you moving forward in a way that's healthy, that's empowered, not needing to use force, because you come to a certain place of release, peace, healing. And this, you know, takes you out of this energy that you might be grappling with right now, where you sort of feel perhaps exiled, like I was saying, out of the loop, cut off, maybe something's gone cold. You know, maybe you feel a little bit like you're running on empty. There's something that can only be recovered, though, through that deep dive. I do feel like a communication is going to be issued that will create a sense of peace, and closure and healing around something that was very painful, okay? Very painful cycle. And this sort of like clears the way to move forward in a new way. So let's look at this. Like, how are you going to be moving forward? Because I know that you're going to be moving into that ninth house. So there's going to be some expansion coming in. But I also feel like you have a new view, you know? You have a very philosophical view of life. I also feel like there will be something that gives you a more optimistic view too. All right. Now, some of you are choosing to let go of a particular battle. Maybe you're choosing to not fight for something that you were so strongly invested in fighting for before. Now, for some of you, this has something to do with something that really threw off a family, okay, a family unit. And you were just very much about, no, it's my way or the highway. And that caused some kind of fracturing. It could have caused problems within a home. This could have something to do with a relationship, a serious commitment, a marriage. You may be deciding in some cases that you don't necessarily need to be married. Maybe you want to be more independent at this time. Maybe you're leaving a marriage and this was a very difficult, painful process, but you had to let go of this in order to be true to you. This could also be a serious, committed relationship, or it could be something involving your family where you really had to go your own way, all right? But I feel like where you went your own way in the past, there was something combative about it. And there was something that was a little bit too much of a push that could have been seen selfish to others or combative to others or overly competitive, or was just done in such a way that it left bad feelings here in this situation. I feel like that's transforming here, that's changing. And maybe you're willing to give a little ground in a situation where you were really like just, you had your heels dug in. You know, maybe you're now a little bit more open to compromise. Some of you have really decided that you thought, you know, a relationship was going to end in marriage and you're making the choice to go on your own, you know. You really feel like you need to invest in yourself. It could be, I have to say, in cases where that's coming up, this could be temporary with the Three of Swords coming in. This might be taking a break from a serious commitment to just sort of drop in with yourself, feel out, is this right for me? You know, maybe this involves you going on some kind of trip, got like eat, pray, love kind of vibes, you know? You just need some time to focus on yourself, get clear on what you want. Maybe this conflict, whatever came up here, and whatever you learned through integrating all these shadow elements makes you recognize, you know, maybe I don't want what I thought I wanted, and maybe I'm wanting something else entirely. But I do feel like there's something being put on pause here. And it could be a decision concerning a home or a marriage or serious commitment. It could even be, like I was saying, for those of you who are wanting to head in a new career direction, you're holding off launching something because you realize, first of all, I don't want to put this out there right now with what's going on in my personal life. It could also be that you're really recognizing you sort of need to rebrand something. You need to change the way it's presented. It's not quite right. Maybe you were working in a group before and people had different ideas than you. You really want to be true to your own vision in that regard. So you're like, hey, this could even be with changes on the hub, you know? And you're really saying, you know what? I just need some space to myself to figure this out. Some of you may be looking at unconventional ideas in terms of marriage too. You could be looking at things like open marriage. You could be looking at things like maybe we each need to have our own living spaces, and that's what keeps everything harmonious here. I do feel like something's being worked out in terms of the family, in terms of your relationships, in terms of your standing, how you're viewed, you know, on a large scale. I also feel like, you know, you're getting the finances in order where you did suffer some kind of financial setback or you were concerned about that. I think your finances are looking really good. And it has something to do with getting a different view of a situation about how to move forward in that regard that has you investing in the right way. And there's something here about being really true to yourself and your vision. That's what's going to pay off for you. And your growth will be evident. Your growth is going to be evident here. I also feel like where you were dealing with some health issues, those are also being resolved. You're going to be in a much stronger place too. I see you really upping your self-care during this time. I think it's just going to be a natural extension of this work you're doing because you're going to be diving really deep emotionally, processing everything you're feeling. Some of you might have decided to give something up, you know. Maybe you decided to give up smoking. Maybe you decided to give up drinking. There's something here. Maybe you decided to give up because you recognized it was really affecting your health adversely. Some of you, it was a type of connection you were involved in. You recognized how detrimental it was to your health. Maybe you're like, I'm feeling kind of better just being on my own for a bit, all right? So all of these themes coming in, all right? Now, I do see, you know, that there is a character here who is going to be issuing some communication. This could be you. This could be another. You know, I do feel like there's a little awkwardness around it with that fish in the cup. This could be in relation to Pisces. This could also be your energy, especially with that Scorpio rising being Taurus Descendant here. I do feel like this is an awkward advance. I feel like it's an awkward communication. You may feel a little bit out of your element doing this, entering this kind of communication, especially after what happened back there. But I feel like it's really what you need to do. And you'll know the best way to move forward with this, with that guidance that comes in, with that stellium, not that stellium, with the trine that comes in on July 21st, okay? I feel like you'll really be taking an action in Leo season to have this communication and iron something out. Any more details about this before we get an overarching theme here? How will Taurus, I really want to know how Taurus will be moving forward once Pluto goes direct in Capricorn on October 11th there. How will this all turn out? So you're in a deep healing process here, but it's nothing superficial. This is something very deeply personal. It is a spiritual initiation. It involves people who are, soulmates on your path for sure. These are people that you're all learning important lessons through this process, okay? So I feel like by the time you got Pluto going direct in Capricorn on October 11th, you have opened that road, okay? So there is something you're bringing to completion here. You're resolving something, you're letting it go, and you're able to dream up a new future. And it looks like this could be communication coming in with the Sagittarius. I say that because we got the Page of Wands here with the Temperance, and we got the Eight of Swords there, okay? So this person may feel like they don't know how to move forward. They don't know how to communicate. You could have a strong Sagittarius placement in your chart. That's possible. Just apply it as it fits. I bring in the signs because it relates to a lot of people, but you don't have to be one of these signs. This is just the energy. This is also that Sagittarian house, okay? So I feel like this is when you balance that situation out with another, and it's sort of like you both get a get out of jail free card. You see what I mean? It's like, okay, we're getting free of this, I'm not a victim here. I can do something. I can communicate, all right? I can express how I'm feeling. We can balance this out. We can come to a place of peace, all right? So I do feel like this is tempering the situation. And it's also a piece where, this is just a communication being issued where you have a different perspective now. So it's coming from a different place. It's not coming from a different place of, well, I feel like I'm not getting my way, so it's more combative. You know what I'm saying? Instead, you're communicating in such a way where you have a more philosophical view. And this is what's allowing the balancing to take place. And for those of you who are, really steeped in a spiritual journey where you're heading down a new path spiritually, I do feel like you're really stepping into your alchemical powers there, all right? There is an elevation happening here, and I feel like it's opening up a new spiritual path for you. I feel that very strongly. There's something that's changing fundamentally around your perspective about life, yourself, and your spirituality that's coming front and center in this cycle. And I do feel like where you felt like maybe you were sort of on trial, okay? Maybe you felt like it was a bit of a witch's trial. I mean, some of you, I don't know, maybe you did do some questionable things alchemically for those of you on that path. And maybe you felt like you got a little bit caught up in that. Well, it's just all part of your education and becoming an alchemist, right? Something's being refined here. And maybe you'll be moving forward in a new way in the future. I mean, we all have to get our fingers burned, those of us who are alchemists, and to truly understand the uses of power. And even if you haven't been engaged in that, I still feel like this is a matter of understanding the uses of power and how to be balanced in that regard. And there is some kind of healing, some kind of balancing out happening here. And there is, somebody getting out of victim mode, right? And taking their power back and being more empowered. So this is really good, right? So it looks like a healing happening here and growth, spiritual growth, and moving forward down a new track spiritually. All right, let's do a cut of the deck here and see what we got. Look at that. It's definitely a turn of fortune. So what goes up must go down, and what's down and rough to deal with must come back up again. 44 on the clock, okay? You got angels on the outfield here. There's a lot of synchronicity around this. I do feel that you're going to spin that raw hand of fate into the stuff of destiny. I feel like this is revamping your public image, like I said, okay? I feel like your fortunes will be on the upswing. I also feel like this is that piece of you solving that inner riddle and coming into that place of balance and coming into alignment with your truth, with your integrity, and really representing it in the outer world. And there's something here that you're bringing to a close. It's a karmic cycle. There could have been an Ophiuchus involved in this. Sagittarians born November 30th through December 18th. This is also just the qualities of that Scorpio energy and the Sagittarian energy, okay, the deep dive into integrating all that Lilith material, that the inner rebel, the one who's exiled, the one who plays with the taboo, okay? There's something here that you no longer have to keep in the shadows. You're going to show up in your life and represent it fully, because there's a recognition that this is who I am. And so instead of keeping something like a secret, and however that was playing out, whether it was a relationship you were keeping secret, or a side of your personality you were keeping secret, or a desire to head in a particular direction that you were keeping hidden or concealed. So it really had you divided within yourself because you felt like you were living a double life. This is you saying, no, this is me. This is me too, Pac-Man, you know, and you're putting it out on Front Street. And again, that Aquarian energy front and center there, also Leo energy. So I do feel like there's something really significant happening in this cycle that's about wild rebellion instead of destructive rebellion. And yes, there's a difference. There's a way to be wild and free and fully empowered in yourself without having to cause damage. All right. There's something that's being balanced out here. And I do see you moving forward. This looks really good. Okay. Really positive energy coming in there. Something is being transformed. All right. There could be an Ophiuchus that's part of moving things forward. Okay. You could be an Ophiuchus and you could have a very strong Taurus placement in your chart, or maybe you're a Scorpio rising. Okay. Either way here, I see that there's something to celebrate here. There is a healing that happens here. Something is being balanced out and you're free and clear to move forward, right? Clear view, clear way forward. Let's get an overarching theme here for you with the Halloween Oracle. Bottom of the deck, yeah, look at that. Fall's going to be really great for you. You got sweetness and synergy. Your harvest is protected, okay? So this is beautiful with the way this is coming in. So something is really being transformed here, and I think you'll like where you land in the fall this year, okay? It's closing up in a really beautiful way. So let's just see what is coming in here for Taurus. What is the overarching theme for Taurus during this Pluto retrograde cycle? What do you want Taurus to focus on, spirit? What do you want them to be aware of? What do you want to highlight for Taurus, spirit? As we opened up, intuition, okay? Intuition. It's through really sinking into this experience and taking the focus away from the external, what's happening with all the other key players in your situation, and instead really turning within. And when you turn within, looking at it through the lens of what part did I play? Where could I have done something differently? How am I really feeling here? Okay, it's about completely taking the other or others out of it and looking at your part. And this will arrive you at some point of intuitive knowing. And maybe you felt like for a while your intuition was a little off and you're used to your intuition being really sharp, but you found yourself in sort of like this strange place where you had no reference point. I feel like you're getting back your reference point in that case, right? Let's just see what else wants to come out here as an overarching theme for Taurus, spirit. All right, what do we got here? Yes, do you see? There's something that is healed here. And I have to say, some of you really did stir the pot. You did. You stirred the pot. You had to lick the spoon. You felt like maybe you were on trial a little bit, you know. Some of you may have felt like it was a witch hunt, I have to say, or you were the bad guy in this situation, all right? But there's something that is going to come into a place of synergy and healing here, but only when there is this place of total transparency. We have invisibility, authenticity. And I think that's what's been missing from this situation. It's like, who are you, Taurus? Who is the real you? What do you really feel? And I think this is because a lot was hidden. There was something that happened here that was maybe you weren't even aware of it at the time. It was a driving force within you that wasn't truly like actualized and acknowledged by yourself yet. So you didn't understand why people were reacting to you the way that they were, all right? But yet it still marred the experience. All of you on some level had something that was hidden here that was running the show, and it's what factored into this dissension, this disruption, these problems, the drama, the separation, the falling out, okay, and how that affected the way that you were viewed and how it affected what you were building and trying to establish for yourself in your future. And there's something here about finally seeing what that element was and then being able to really let it be seen by showing up and representing it in an authentic way. This is what brings the alignment for you. This is what brings the healing. And this ensures that whatever is stirring in the pot is actually something nourishing, all right? And you won't mind licking that spoon, all right? It also makes me think of, oh, this is very interesting. It's making me think of the story of Gwen and Caridwen. And Caridwen had a son that, wasn't a real looker, but really wanted, her son to have unbelievable smarts, like just real sharp acumen, because then it could like give him a little bit of an advantage in life. She was making this very special potion up, and this potion had to be stirred consistently for 13 moons, never missing a beat. So she hired Gwen to, stir the pot for her. And Gwen accidentally dropped 3 of the drops of that potion he was stirring up there on his hand, and he, sucked up those drops, and he imbued the power that was actually meant for Caridwen's son. So Caridwen was like hot on Gwen's tail. And there was a whole shape-shifting race they went through. And eventually, she did catch Gwen and transformed Gwen into Taliesin, okay? And Taliesin is also equated with Merlin. So there is a bit of a magical tale that was spun here, and a bit of that trickster medicine too, because when we look at that hunt between Caridwen and Gwen, it starts with Gwen transforming into a hare, and hare medicine is trickster medicine. It's also the ways that we call our fears to ourselves. So there's a lot about the uses of power there. And I feel like that story is coming through for a reason. You've been on a similar journey there. And maybe somebody felt like you lapped up something that was actually meant for them, that you got the advantage out of that unfairly, that you took something that wasn't yours, or that you were more selfishly motivated. But through this, it was a bit of coyote medicine. You know what I'm saying? Hare medicine, coyote medicine, very similar. The way that we trick ourselves into acting out in such a way that we learn a lesson we couldn't have learned any other way. So I do feel like there's something transformational happening here, and something that used to be an aspect of your lower nature is being refined and elevated, and it's becoming your strength. It's becoming your empowerment, much like was the case for Gwen who later became Taliesin or Merlin. Very similar characters, okay? Really cool energy here. I like this. I'm going to do one final cut of the deck, and it was 55:05 on the clock there. So I do feel like this has not been the easiest ride, okay? It's been disruptive. There's been a lot of change. Just when you thought you had a handle of a situation, something else shifted, but something is coming to a close, and it's bringing a change that is going to be unexpected. And it also brings hidden gifts. Okay, so just open yourself to the experience. Oh, look at this. Do you see? Unnecessary fear. So there's something here that needs to be laid to rest. It's an unnecessary fear. It's time to let that go. And this could be in connection to somebody that you used to really allow to have power over you. 55:55 on the clock. This could be somebody that was very seductive. This could be somebody that you felt was able to really just like tap in and just drain you dry. This is something that maybe led you down a garden path. Maybe it led you down that garden path last fall. We see that blood moon there, right? But you're developing emotional intelligence here, and you're learning how to really wield power for yourself. Maybe you used to get your power through feeding off, others. Maybe you used to get your empowerment through kind of like stirring up drama, all right? And thereby kind of like being in a position where you felt like you were orchestrating things. Remember, we're all looking at shadow aspects, okay? So as we dive into all the different signs here, you're going to hear this stuff coming up. None of us are immune to this. But there is something here where your power was really being drained in the past. And perhaps it was because you were acting out of your shadow more. And it wasn't until you finally get to know and understand this aspect of yourself that you're able to transmute that energy and activate some emotional intelligence. I also feel like where you were easily seduced before, or where you gave your power away before, you are not going to be in that position anymore. There's really a lesson you've learned here. Yes. And it's because of the release. You're no longer, going to be like a moth to a flame. You're letting that cycle go. And in letting it go, the eternal cycle begins here. I said internal. So I feel like this is really what you're heading into right now. And with that, it was 57:55 on the clock. So yes, I do feel like you have guides that are helping you, guides that are showing up, perhaps ancestors that are showing up to help you do this deep dive, do this integrative work. I do feel like you're going to be connecting a lot more deeply with your spirituality. But when you come out the other side, you're going to be a lot different than you were before, and it will be recognized. And this is the opening of a new path.